This episode of Bush's Breakaway is brought to you by you, the fans. Listen, this podcast is supported by you, for real. We don't have ads right now. We have some coming. We're working on it. But right now we don't. We just do Patreon. That's it. So it's the only way we keep doing the podcast. So go to patreon.com/BlueShirtsBreakaway. It's how we support the whole thing. We have our Discord. We get BSBOT episodes that come out either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on what's going on with the Ranger games. Immediate game reaction, insider content. I literally give super secret information in our chats. It's freaking awesome. That was the worst pitch I've ever given for our Discord. Anywho, great show today. Tim Peel, NHL referee for many, many years, had one controversy once. You might have heard about it. And then we have our friend Ken from Sim in Vegas on to talk about Jack Eichel and his feelings on that. I think that will surprise you also. Two amazing interviews. I don't usually say this at the beginning. Like, they were very, very fun. The Tim Peel one especially is awesome. Great insight into the league and what it's like being a ref. And definitely controversial responses when it comes to goalie interference, which you'll agree with, I'm sure. Anywho, let's get to Mark Messier, and I hope you all enjoy the show, and thank you all for the support you've given us, I don't know, forever. Okay, here we go.
Hi, everybody. It's Mark Messier, and you're listening to Blue Shirts Breakaway, the #1 Rangers podcast.
Hey, Butcher Breakaway fans. Welcome to the Butcher Breakaway of patreon.com/Butcher's Breakaway. I'm here with my co-host, Gregory Kaplan. I'm Ryan Me. Greg, say hello.
Lesson learned tonight. Never, ever, ever make fun of goalie interference penalties when an official is on the podcast with you.
Learned that. And then shortly after we asked that question and tried to get a serious answer at, or even a lighthearted one, it happened in the game where Gallant did not challenge it. I was a little bit surprised, but I think if the game was closer, Gallant would have challenged it. But we have a lot to go over from this last weekend of games, Gregory. I don't know if you heard, but the Rangers were part of some highlights, some real good times. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah, some wonderful Scorpion saves, a 5v1 with Connor McDavid, where 4 Rangers stick tap him as he gets beyond Georgiev. And then tonight, the Rangers beat an undefeated team. What a scenario to be talking about. To have a team, this is the last 3 games for the New York Rangers. Let's just recap it for everybody very quickly. Up 4-1 against the Oilers, looking like an absolutely dominant team. They come back, and then of course they lose in overtime to Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Cool. Next, they go to Calgary. Calgary shithouses them. It's not even a game, not competitive. After the Adam Fox goal is called off, nothing happens. Igor looks tired. The road trip is forever. Everything sucks, even though some of the goals for Igor were pretty much unstoppable. Enough said. Cool. Then they go against a undefeated 10-0-1 Florida team coming into Madison Square Garden. The team is a little banged up. They are starting Spencer Knight, but yet they are still undefeated. They look tremendously dominant. Well, I wouldn't say tremendously dominant. They let up 97 shot attempts, but they were in control of the game at a 4-0. They get a challenge. And then all of a sudden, in 26 seconds, in under a minute, Florida comes back and makes it 4-3. And, of course, they don't make it easy. The Rangers look pissed walking off the ice. This team is a goddamn roller coaster, and I don't know how to handle it.
I think tonight best summarizes the New York Rangers, essentially, at least on this road trip, right? We were on BSBOT. We said a good team finds a way to get 3 points against these challenging opponents. The New York Rangers got 3 points, but they managed to get 3 points in a way that makes you somehow feel worse. They should have beaten the Oilers flat out. That's a point the Rangers left on the table. I don't do moral victories in games like that. The New York Rangers should have won that hockey game. They did plenty to win that hockey game.
It's a moral victory if they're up 3-2 and Connor McDavid scores that goal. That's absolutely going to be showed on his highlight reel, maybe like the first 3 clips for the rest of his career. But that's fine. When you're up 4-1 in that situation, you can't let those kind of games go. And
apparently the New York Rangers just don't know how to play with a 4-1 lead is what it really boils down to on this one. But anyway,
most dangerous in sports.
You leave a point on the table there. That doesn't sit well with you. Then you completely shit the bed against the Flames. That doesn't sit well with you. And then when you start to feel better about the Rangers' performance, and again, this Rangers' performance is indicative of the Rangers' performances we've seen throughout the year, wherein, once again, the New York Rangers, this time they come through when it mattered and they put the puck in the net, but for the majority of the game, they are still getting lambasted 5-on-5. And it's an alarming trend. I can't say it's the players don't know how to play in the coach's system or anything like that, because it's just basic hockey. I don't think Galan is doing anything completely revolutionary that this team shouldn't be able to understand by game 12. And yet we sit here and the Rangers are what? 7-3-3?
Yeah,
right?
I believe that to be true, but I'm triple checking currently.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's tough. I don't think everything should be doom and gloom like it's been on Rangers Twitter the last couple of days, but at the same time,
a lot of discourse about prospects and development, as you know.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it fucking kill me at this point. But I'm not a guy that says it should be doom and gloom right now. I'm also not a guy that says you should be completely satisfied with how the New York Rangers played. I think there's somewhere in the middle where we all should be right now, where on one hand, you can be happy that the New York Rangers, once again, have taken points in 10 of their first 13 games this year.
Which, by the way,
nothing to scoff at.
Is ridiculous.
Yeah,
when you look at this team and how they're performing at 5-on-5 and just getting absolutely outshot by
they're getting shithoused.
They're getting
three times.
What
it is. They're getting shithoused.
They're getting 3 times outshot, and yet they're still in these games. It's unbelievable. And that a lot of the reason for that is Igor Shesterkin and Adam Fox. I mean, let's just call it straight. Without those two, I don't really know where they would be. I don't want to think about where they would be. I guess we saw a little bit of it when Georgiev was in net against the Oilers. Not so good. But it's a situation right now for the Rangers that if Igor's not playing in, I don't know, another dimension, he's looking like Henrik Lundqvist light over and over and over again. And it just can't be sustainable. The Rangers can't do this again for another 10 years. And I'm super happy with the win tonight. How could you not be? I mean, the Adam Fox goal was amazing. The Keandre Miller goal, the coast-to-coast, the Neil Pionk-esque coast-to-coast, where he leaves his feet. I mean, even the way Kakko played at some points, where I know he still has 0 points this season, but
yeah, he shouldn't though. Fucking Ryan Strome.
Ryan, I do love Ryan Strome. He just makes
that just at the same time. It's fun. It's funny that we're going to talk to Tim Peel, and we also talked to Sinbin today. But I specifically made sure to mention with Tim Peel the stuff about goalie interference reviews, because it all seems made up. None of it makes a whole lot of sense. It seems like one day it's one thing, the other day it's another thing. And lo and behold, what do we get in the Ranger game? It's a goalie interference where, Strome's in the crease, but also Ekblad is kind of keeping Strome in the crease. So Strome, in a way, is getting interfered with because he can't move, which is then interfering with the goalie. And all it does is take a point off Kakko's ledger. And it was a great play by Kakko, first of all, to get an open space for the shot chance. Understand that he was too late in the window to get the shot off. So what does he do? He finds he takes the goalie out of the net and finds a wide open Artemi Panarin, and Panarin doesn't miss from there. So and you know what's going to happen in 3 games. They're going to be like, oh, Kakko doesn't have any points.
I know, trust me.
He's a bust, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but fuck you.
Well, I don't know about that, but listen, it's been struggle. It's been struggle town for Lafreniere and Kakko. I've been talking about this pretty much the last 3 days when it comes to prospect development. I don't think they've ever really been the guys here in New York. I'm not sure that matters sometimes. They do have to have some accountability, but they haven't had the chances that some of these other prospects have had. I've got called out, say some people, Kakko has had the chance. I don't really think so. He's kind of, last year he moved up and down with David Quinn. This year, I know he's been on the second line, but he was out we don't know what the injury was, but I have to assume it was a separated shoulder or some sort of shoulder injury. Seems to be back into playing shape at this time. I think he still look in the preseason. He looked like one of the better Rangers on the squad, no doubt about it. At that point in time, now he's just going to get back into form, see if he can get some chemistry going with Strowman and Panarin, and seemingly that happened tonight. So I'm just going to wait for that development to happen and not freak out till, I don't know, the end of this year. If we still think that Capo and Lafreniere look terrible by April, we can have that conversation. I promise.
Well, I honestly think that the discourse that shocked me the most, because I've now heard about it. I did a Q&A with some of our Discord friends on Saturday morning, and before Saturday morning, I had not known that people had thought Keandre Miller is playing like crap and might need a stint in Hartford. I was unaware that this was an opinion. I don't know if it's because I'm on Twitter less now that I'm not sitting at a desk all day at work or what. I legitimately did not know that there were Ranger fans out there unhappy, upset, displeased with the way Keandre Miller has been playing, to a point where they're asking for him to get demoted. That blew my mind. And I think tonight, I hate using goals as the like, aha, see what I told you so kind of moment, but I've honestly thought Keandre Miller has been fine at worst this year. And nights like tonight are exactly why you do not demote Keandre Miller. He's very clearly one of your 4 best defensemen. And whether you think Braden Schneider or Zach Jones can easily slide into this lineup, or heaven forbid the kayak himself, who the Rangers clearly forgot about and now had to send on a conditioning assignment because they can't fucking trade him because it's November 8th and he's still fucking here. It's just, I was stunned that people were out on Keandre Miller to begin this season. I don't know. This is one of those instances where I literally have to ask people, are we watching the same game? Because we cannot be, if that's the opinion you had of Keandre Miller through the first 13 games
I
this
think
year.
there's sometimes a situation that occurs. I've said situation a lot this podcast. My apologies. There's something that happens on the internet where someone will post some stats about Keandre Miller and some effective charts that say he hasn't had a good game here or there. I think he was on the ice for 5 straight goals, and I think that was a big part of it. But the Rangers are getting crushed at 5v5. You're going to get beat at some point with that. Keandre Miller is a great player. He's still 21. I think I'm going to do it. People forget how young Keandre Miller is. He has some offensive talented upside to his game. He's not going to be a play driver, but it's there. He was a forward until like 2 years ago, everybody. He's a talented player, and you have to give those players time to cook. And guess what? Keandre Miller got time to cook. I think he led 5v5 ice time among defensemen other than Adam Fox. I'm so sorry. Keandre Miller last year. And Keandre he's been solid this year. I have no problem with him. The 2 defensemen that have been liabilities on this team have been the Nemeth, I can't say it, Nemeth and Niels Lundqvist. And Lundqvist looked fine tonight in sheltered time. But the top 4 on the defense has never been my issue this season, like whatsoever. I'm sure that the stats that hey, Keandre's been on for 5 goals in a row. He's blah, blah, blah. Those tweets, they circulate and people form their own opinion from there. But Keandre's been fine. He's holding his own in a lot of different ways. And I know our friend Rob Luker, I'm sorry, I don't know why I called him Lurker. Luker has been trumpeting the Fox-Miller pairing forever. Maybe one day we'll see that. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know what else anyone's looking for from a young defenseman like Keandre Miller. At some point, you're just asking for too much. And that's a you thing, not a Keandre Miller thing. And I put my hand up. I did not realize it was a topic worth discussing on Ranger Twitter. I'm not saying like I don't know. That's never happened to me before, where something is happening I feel pretty plugged in. I have to be. We talk about this team so damn much that it's hard to miss anything. And for me to just straight up not just miss that one, but not even be able to understand the conversation that is having in regards to that, it shocked me. Like, I get the Kakko stuff and the Lafreniere stuff. To me, it's tired, it's worn out, it's overdone. I don't know how many times we can tell you that these guys are children, and I'm not going to worry about it until I have to worry about it. And that time is not now. It's not next year. It might not even be the year after that. They're being asked to do something they've never been asked to do on a team where they don't have to be the focal point of the offense. I think it was that guy left wing, underrated follow.
One of the best.
Chart. He has the chart that shows that Alexis Lafreniere is not just below pace of power play time to former top other former top 3 picks.
Literally is the lowest.
But he is the literal outlier. He is the one that doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that Lafreniere would have 100 points if he was on the power play, but Alexis Lafreniere, as a number 1 overall pick, is being asked to do something that no other number 1 overall pick has been asked to do. At least that's a forward. So you have to understand that the data point we're dealing with here with these young Rangers, it's non-comparable. And then to further point that we talked about last week, it doesn't matter what the Lucas Raymonds of the world are doing, or even the Tim Stutzlas, or whatever.
I'm so glad you brought this up.
It doesn't matter what the other guys are doing, because there is no scenario where the New York Rangers were taking anyone but Capo Caco and then Alexis Lafreniere. If they took anybody else, we would have been on this podcast calling the New York Rangers the stupidest organization that ever existed. And it doesn't matter if they were busts or the greatest things in sliced bread, the New York Rangers would have gotten the draft wrong. We're talking about 2 slam dunk picks where there was no other option but those 2 players. So whatever happens kind of happens. The New York Rangers made the right call. It's not like Kravtsov, right? Where the Rangers, they put their feather in a cap with Kravtsov. They liked their guy, but they could have easily gone for about 6 different players, whether it's Dobson or Wahlstrom or Bouchard, whoever you wanted to put in that spot. There are arguments that could be made that the New York Rangers made the wrong judgment on Vitaly Kravtsov or Elias Anderson or hell, Keandre Miller, Niels Lundqvist, Philip Hedl, guys who go at different points of the draft. But when you had the number 2 pick in a 2-player draft and the number 1 pick in a 1-player draft, you take those fucking guys. It's not rocket science. You can't use revisionist history on this and say, well, the Rangers,
your development.
You love Byfield, right? You are one of the biggest Byfield guys I know.
I am.
It would have been a mistake if the New York Rangers took Quentin Byfield.
They would have gotten lambasted for it, just like you said. Yeah, absolutely.
We would have been the ones doing it.
Me less than you, but yes, absolutely. I probably would have called them out. You had to. It would have been one of the biggest stories in hockey history if they didn't take Lafreniere. He scored 200 points in 2 seasons. By the way, it's more than 200 points. He has offensive talent. The skating hasn't translated just yet, and it's there. He just hasn't found it yet. He hasn't got power play opportunity. I'm okay without having this conversation right now. The time will come, I promise. They're still young. They're going to develop. Let's talk about it March, April, if things are really, really still looking grim for both these players. But I would like to come back and revisit that at that point in time. But I'm so glad you said the Wahlstrom thing, because the Wahlstrom, the way they handled Anderson and the way they've handled Kravtsov, yes, you can flame the Rangers for those picks. You could have at the time. And we did, by the way. That did happen. But not picking Capo Caco or Lafreniere, yes, Lucas Raymond's a great player. Yeah, Zagris is a great player. I would love to have both those players. There's no scenario in which the Rangers would take them, exactly like you said there, Greg.
Zero. It's like a failure to understand. And it's the same people that are calling these guys busts that would have been the first people to say the New York Rangers are the dumbest organization in the world if they hadn't made the picks that they made.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just hindsight's 20/20. I get it. But at the same time, just take a step back and realize that literally you're the problem, not the prospects. I don't mean to call people out that harshly, but I'm going to do it because that's kind of my brand.
Well, yeah, go on.
But it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of, I'm trying to think of another sport example. If only the New York Mets made a slam dunk draft pick
I have
recently.
an example I've thought about with this. So I wanted to throw this your way. There is a basketball player named Steph Curry. Maybe you've heard of him.
Okay. I've heard of him.
If he was drafted by the New York Knicks, is he ever Steph Curry?
I don't know. Probably. I mean,
we'll never know. But
in the wrong hands, his early career ankle injuries are not handled properly.
Totally understand. But I think if Lafreniere or Kakko were the number 1 and number 2 picks for Detroit, and they were the guys there, they would be putting up points. They'd both be on the power play. They'd be able to run everything through them. Everything would run through Lafreniere and Kakko and whatever center they had. That would be their whole squad, and Dylan Larkin at that point. They would have these point totals. You'd be like, wow, these kids are really developing. The future will be here in a few years. Things are cooking. They're going to go to the next level. But since they were the 5th and 6th or even 7th and 8th options sometimes to the New York Rangers, and the development under Quinn, who was supposed to be a developmental coach, and he did do some great development for players like Adam Fox and Ryan Lindgren, but did not happen for those two players. It's on the Rangers a little bit developmental-wise to not get them to where they need to be. And that's a long-term issue. But they're not busts. They're not lacking talent. The talent is there. They have it all. It's unlocking the talent and finding how to use it. And I hope everybody we talk to, Greg, everyone we talk to says Gerard Gallant's one of the best coaches and one of the best guys there is. And I have to hope and I have to pray that Gerard Gallant could do this, because you're locked into this Ranger team for quite a few years now. And Lafreniere and Kakko are going to be a solid part of your life for at least the next 7 or 8 or 9. Who knows?
And it's not just that, and it's the point that I go to that we talked about last Monday. It's what are we really upset about here? I don't think it's the kids. I think the kids are emblematic of everything that's happening to this team in general. Like, was Alexis Lafreniere playing on the 4th line or Kaapo Kakko having a sluggish game against Edmonton the reason why the Rangers lost? No. Were those two players specifically the reason the Rangers lost to the Flames? No. Were those two players? Kakko did a lot of good tonight. Was he part of the solution tonight? Yes. So what are you really angry about when you're saying that these kids are busts, in my opinion? That's what I'm really trying to ask these people that are so gung-ho about it. Like, Kaapo Kakko and Alexis Lafreniere, at this point in their careers, when they're playing on a team that includes Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, and Chris Kreider, they shouldn't be the guys you are leaning on to lead this team offensively. Should they be doing more? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and say that what they're doing is acceptable if you want to be a not just playoff hockey team, but a team with legitimate Stanley Cup ambitions. You need more from those guys, 1,000%. But they shouldn't be your bell cows. Your veteran stars need to be your veteran stars. And whether it's because you don't want to be angry at Artemi Panarin because he's literally the greatest thing since sliced bread. I get it.
Another 2.
Whether you don't want to be angry, I mean, you can't be angry at Chris Kreider. The guy's doing literally everything. Okay,
we've had this podcast for a long time. One of our first episodes ever is Should We Trade Chris Kreider? I think it was episode 4, and he's still here. This is the hottest he's ever been, legitimately.
I am hard pressed to think of another instance where he's been more in tune to his game than he is right now.
He's never been more consistent than this. And if he can keep this up, he'll finally be that scorer that we always wanted him to be. Those 30
But the New York Rangers shouldn't expect him to. I think that's another important point.
Agreed.
This gets to our next point, where we've talked about this many times before, whether on air or off air, where we should feel fortunate that the New York Rangers at this point in the season through 13 games are 7-3-3. That is good. We are not here to say that the New York Rangers are bad. What we're here to say is the New York Rangers are super fortunate, and you shouldn't be a team that rests on your laurels when things are going your way.
There's something
when they probably shouldn't be going your way.
Agree, but I don't want to call this the Gerard Gallant effect, but there might be something too. Like, yes, Greg, I think you and I can agree on this. The analytics do not like the New York Rangers. The stats don't.
No, especially at 5-on-5 offensively.
They actually hate them, and on top of that, I would say their shot scoring, everything about the New York Rangers game has looked not great. It's not been aesthetically pleasing a lot of the time. It's been hard pressed, but they've been winning games. I think that's the Gerard Gallant effect. It's like you still get points. You're still in these games. And yes, maybe it all catches up to you, but maybe it sticks around like this. This shouldn't be your goal, but it seems like this team can hang and will grind out games and maybe can stay in this playoff race, which is going to be tough because the Metro is a goddamn hellscape. There's nothing else I could say about it. Every team seems to be good. Even CBJ is putting some nice wins together. Everybody seems to be pretty competitive. So this is a squad that's going to hopefully grind it out. It hasn't really even been gritty. I was expecting Reeves or somebody to go at certain players when Igor was getting absolutely tackled in the crease. I thought there would be some more goalie defense, some more grit, some more hit, and there just wasn't. But they are a team that just seemingly lingers around and sticks around. It's unbelievable. I'm gonna give some credit to Gerard Gallant because I don't know what else to do, because there's no other reason the Rangers should be in a lot of these games, and seemingly he's the factor that's changed from last year. So I have to give him some credit.
The factor that changed from last year is Igor Shesterkin is top 3 goal in the NHL.
That's a big one.
That's No, that's not the big one. That's the one. You take Igor Shesterkin out of this season, what do you have? You have 2 losses at the hands of Alexander Georgiev. And I think that's how the New York Rangers would be playing if they didn't have godlike goaltending at all times. I don't know if it's – I understand a lot of things I do on this podcast because, first and foremost, unfortunately, the illness that plagues me throughout the entirety of my entire life is the New York Mets. And I am familiar with the team that is just, we're going to hope the one thing that's going good for us right now continues to go good. And I'm a veteran of it, spoiler alert, not continuing in that fashion. So I, maybe more so than other people, or at least more so than other Ranger fans, understand that when something is being done that is both unsustainable and yet fortunate for the Rangers, something should be done to make it more sustainable. And in my mind, that means the Rangers need to make a move. They need to jumble up some of their forward lines. They need to do something as opposed to just, well, Artemi and Mika, and they're going to get hot, Kreider's going to stay hot, and the kids are going to stop playing like kids. I think when we were doing our preview podcasts, how many times did we say that a lot of things went wrong for the Rangers last year? And while we don't expect all those things to go wrong, it's unrealistic to expect everything to go right. And that's what we continue to come on this podcast and just say stuff like good teams aren't asking this many questions. The Tampa Bay Lightning would never find themselves in this situation, mostly because they're cheating. But even in scenarios where they're not cheating, good teams aren't hoping for things to continue to go well or for things to improve to sustain the things that are currently going well. It's very possible and probable that Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin are going to light the world on fire and both have 70-plus point seasons this year. But it's also very possible that Igor Shesterkin has a bad couple weeks. And if Igor Shesterkin has a bad couple weeks, you're going to then expect Alexander Georgiev to have a good couple of weeks. You need to make moves. You need to make moves that makes your team's success sustainable. And that's what I need to see from the New York Rangers. I need to see Gallant mix up some of these lines. This is only the 3rd game this season where the New York Rangers have scored 4 or more goals. That is concerning at this point in the season. Again, when your team is built to be this top heavy and the top is not carrying the weight, you gotta do something to say it is fortunate that we have started off this well. This division is even harder than we thought it was going to be. And in order for us to maintain our position or even gain ground on the teams ahead of us, we have to supplement what's currently here. And that's what I need to see from the New York Rangers, probably before the new year. I don't think this team can just wait around until January 1st and decide what it wants to do.
They need some offensive help. The Rangers are 31st with 25.7 shots a game. Tied for last with a minus 79 differential. It would be the last time they averaged a team averaged under 28.5 shots a game was 1999. So, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You could be happy about beating the best team in hockey. Please sit here tonight or tomorrow morning, wherever you are, and enjoy that the Rangers are in the position they're in, because it's amazing that they have gotten to the place they're at. What Greg and I are telling you is that this bridge might collapse. It might fall down.
I don't think might is the word. If things continue to go this way for the New York Rangers, there may be a 500 hockey club. And again, there's recent example of this. Look at the Mets. They spent 109 days in first place this year on the backs of really great pitching and hoping that their offense came around. The offense never came around, and the pitching stopped being great, and the Atlanta Braves are World Series champions. So it's not like we are citing an example from recent history that is far-fetched or hasn't happened or doesn't exist. Just because it happened in a different sport doesn't belittle the fact that it happened. I am asking the New York Rangers to do the bare minimum, which is be smarter than the Mets. That is not a high bar I am asking you to clear. I think it's the lowest bar I could possibly ask you to clear. It's like me asking the NHL to just give a shit. If that's all I'm asking you to do, you got to come up with a good reason to not do it. And right now, again, the people that want to be happy the Rangers have taken points from 10 of 13 games, I'm all for it. The people that want to be super negative that this Ranger team looks flat out bad at certain times, I can't defend it. I'm saying there's a middle ground here. There's nuance that we could be having in this conversation. We can agree that this cannot continue, all while also being appreciative specifically of Chris Kreider, Adam Fox, and Igor Shesterkin that they've gotten off to this good of a start.
I think you said it best there. Want to do some 5 stars and we'll get to our interviews?
Let's do some 5 stars and then we'll get to our interviews.
54. This is from Matty Jack Legend, who, by the way, is giving away tickets to the Henrik Lundqvist game. If you haven't...
He's a madman. He's a madman.
I retweeted him. You can go follow him on my Twitter. He'll be giving away, or trying to give away with a contest until it happens. So go follow him. All right, now that we did that. 54.16% of our cap space is taken up by Trouba, Mika, Fox, Panarin, and Kreider. With the exception of Fox and Panarin, there's a crowd that thinks the Rangers did a terrible job with cap management. Kreider was signed before Lafreniere was, though. Trouba was signed before Fox was known as Limitless, and if Mika was given the contract, then who was? Is it fair to say that that this isn't all the Rangers' fault?
No, and
we've talked about the Chris Kreider stuff a lot.
Yeah, everything comes back to Kreider. I don't think it has. I've continued to say this time and time again, and I don't know if people just think I'm like
Trouba's underrated right now. I don't know what's going on.
Not just right now. I've been underrated. He had a rough first season, but the last 2 years, again, he's another guy that's been no worse than fine. I understand you're paying him $8 million. You want him to be a little bit better than fine, but he's been very good. And I can't imagine the New York Rangers without Jacob Trouba. It would look pretty terrible. But this all comes down to Chris Kreider, because if the New York Rangers don't win the lottery, I think we're looking at the importance of Chris Kreider entirely differently. If you want to be upset about cap management, it essentially comes down to deciding that you needed Barclay Goodrow instead of Pavel Buchnevich. That's it at the end of the day, right? That's your cap management. You decided you needed the hard to play against, defensively responsible bottom 6 winger as opposed to the offensively talented, game driving top 6 winger, because the top 6 winger was going to cost you roughly $2 million more a year. But of the contracts the New York Rangers have handed out, I don't know which one I'm taking back, because again, I can't even take back the Kreider deal, because at the time of the Kreider contract, you had no idea what the coronavirus was going to do to this league.
You had no idea.
And you had no idea that you were going to have some wonky odds to win the lottery and do it. So I that's another thing where it's 1,000% revisionist history. There's nothing I can do to turn the past about Chris Kreider. Yes, in hindsight, I wouldn't have given him the contract, but I also wouldn't have believed you at the time the Rangers gave him the contract that they were going to win the Alexei Lafreniere lottery. It wasn't a realistic possibility.
It wasn't. The only reason it happens is because of the pandemic. So, and now everyone's calling him a bust and everyone's pissed he's on your team, even though he was literally a lottery, literally the lottery. Okay.
There's no pleasing.
I can't do it.
People want to be angry.
He'll be fine. I still have a lot of faith that he can turn it around. He's got the talent. I'm not really worried just yet.
Yeah, no shit.
You could be
20.
You could be alarmed, but you don't need to be like.
I honestly don't think you can be alarmed. You can be concerned.
Concerned
is the term. Alarmed.
You could be concerned.
Yeah.
All right, this is from Tom Ertz. Been a frequent. We have the next 2 questions are from frequent guests of this podcast. This is crazy.
Wow.
What's the big move New York Rangers make to free up salary when they need to? Does it become more like a prospect trade and to become a sweetener to facilitate a deal? Boy, speaking of Chris Kreider, huh?
Yeah.
I think that conversation.
Sucks, but that's the conversation you have to have.
Yeah, because he's got a no move contract and it becomes limited no movement contract in 2024. But they're not going to wait that long. And I do believe they'll have a conversation with him this summer or the following summer if they maybe run it back with this kind of this sort of a squad next year. But it's not going to be true, but that's moved. It's definitely not Mika or Fox or Panarin. That only really leaves Kreider left as the salary move. I don't know what's going to happen with Ryan Stroman. We'll get into that in a couple minutes, or I'm sure for the next month, many months here. But I don't think they have to change I don't think they have to give a prospect away for Kreider to get moved. I think a team would take Kreider pretty easily, especially how he's performing right now. But they would have to convince him to waive his no movement contract, and I don't know if that'll be the case for him. But that'll be the way they move it. That's for sure.
Yeah, we talked with Sinbin today, and essentially the answer for everything Vegas wants to do when it comes to their cap situation is Riley Smith, and whether you want it to be someone else or not, it doesn't change the fact that the answer will be the answer. And that's it sucks. Chris Kreider's not the guy that should be this kind of conversation surrounding him this year, next year, any year, but there isn't anybody else. You're not trading Panarin. You're not trading Fox. You're not trading Mika. You just signed him. You're not trading Kakko. You're not trading Lafreniere. You're not trading Igor. And if you ask me which player is more important to the New York Rangers long-term success, Jacob Trouba is more important than Chris Kreider. He just is. He's a more integral part of what this team does on a game-in, game-out basis than Chris Kreider currently is. And it's not a knock on Kreider. Sometimes you're just not the guy. And right now, Jacob Trouba, not just right now, but at least for the next 3, 4, 5 years, I can't imagine the Rangers top 4 without Jacob Trouba.
Oh, me either. I can't at all. If this is from our friend Fitz, free content of the week. If Kaapo Kakko becomes late career Rick Nash, sick two-way forward who gives you 50 points a year, will Ryan be okay? I did this to myself, and I fully expect that to be Kakko's career. I would take that right now. I'd sign up for it right now. I'd sign the check right now.
Yeah, and the podcast will keep going on, too, because I'll make sure to make fun of you for it every single fucking day that we're on this fucking podcast.
As you should, as I make a joke later. This is from Chris from Florida. What changes would you make to the forward lines to help generate offense? I have one simple suggestion. I would not have Barclay Goodrow anywhere near the top 6, period, end of story.
Correct, and I've been saying it, I'll continue to say it. I need Panarin and Zibanejad to play together until they're both so scorching hot that I feel like I can break them up to make my lineup longer. We live in this crazy upside down world where Filipino being out. We should talk about Filipino being out.
Oh wow, we haven't even done that yet, huh? Jeez.
Yeah, I'm
35 minutes in.
We want. There continues to be one trend with the New York Rangers, and it's an alarming trend because it shouldn't be a trend. This team has no center depth, and it has shown time and time again that it can't sustain not having their top 3 centers in this lineup for a long period of time. It struggled without Strome, and it clearly struggled against the Flames without Hedl. And then tonight was hit or miss without Hedl. But it's just, as much as I love Kevin Rooney, it's just the more you get exposed to the players you're not supposed to be exposing, the worse the results are going to look. And it really is something that the New York Rangers have known. They have this deficiency down the middle for at least the last 3-4 years, and they have just done nothing to address it. Nothing to address it.
With you. I don't know. I have a question about Matt Rampy, but is he going to play for the Rangers this season or ever? Probably not this season.
Not this season. I mean,
yeah.
Ever?
I know they just signed him to an ALC, but that's from number 1 Matt Rampy fan. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers once upon a time signed Ty Ronning to an ELC. I don't expect him to play anytime soon either.
It's from Swingart, one of our legendary listeners. When is it time to start talking about sending either Kakko or Laffy down? Never, Swingart. It's not. The time is past for the AHL. They're not getting a Libra Hayek conditioning stint. That's not going down.
But it's not just that. It's, again, ask yourself the honest question of, if neither of those guys are here, okay,
yes,
what the fuck are the Rangers doing?
Yeah.
So it's whether you think they should go down, whether you think their play warrants them going down, it's neither here nor there, because the New York Rangers, if only they had another top 10 pick that played wing, that could who theoretically
may or may not have shaved his head this weekend.
Yeah, it's the Rangers have put themselves in a position.
Like
they've done this
last week in the KHL, no big deal.
Yeah, they've done this with their center depth, and now they've done it with their wingers. Where whether you think these guys need to go down for conditioning stints, the New York Rangers are not going to call up Lori Pujaniemi.
This team looks so different if Kravtsov is here and is playing what I expected him to be playing as. The right wing is so barren without him. It's ridiculous. It needs to be addressed like immediately.
Barren, I get it.
You like that? Good.
No, not really.
Okay. This last question is from Pure Guts. Do you think there's too much emphasis on Kakko and Laff and other prospects playing a 200-foot game? Is it affecting their offensive performance, thus overall performance? So they just let them play and be creative and bring other parts of their game later more naturally. I have to tell you, I think that's what Gallant's trying to do. I think he's trying to let them do that. Kakko has developed a 200-foot game. It's there. He can do that. He actually was one of the better players tonight against Florida. And even the analytics say he's one of the better players against Florida. It's a surprise. So I don't think it's that. I think they were a little bit affected by, I don't know, the coronavirus, a million different things with David Quinn, and the lack of playtime they've gotten. So yes, they've always had the puck on their stick, and they just have that has not been the case for them the past 2 years. So I think they're going to get a little more of a leash this year, but they're still, Panarin and Strome still on that line, still got to pass to them. Lafreniere probably should be playing with Kreider and Mika. I know you want Artemi with Mika at this point in time, and I get that. I totally understand. But Lafreniere, the stats actually looked pretty good when he was playing with Mika. I would like to see him back up there, but he just hasn't, I don't know, quote unquote, earned it yet. So that's it for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
I know we talked about it forever.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We have 2 great interviews for you. We have Tim Peel, who I introduced as Tim Pool. That's wrong. It says his name is Tim.
Yeah, that NYR, our dumbass guy who loves your mentions despite fucking hating you.
Is that
gonna love that one?
Oh, is Tim Pool's like a commentator, political commentator, or whatever it is? I don't know.
Sure. I don't know. I just know that one guy that lives in your mentions that you for some reason haven't blocked.
Yeah, it's
just fucking block him. What are you doing?
It's insane. I try not to block people. I try to be nice. I don't know what is wrong with me. Anyway, we have Tim Peel, who was an NHL referee forever. It's an incredible interview. It's freaking great. And then we have Ken from Sinbin, which is also he was awesome. So we talk about for the last time Jack Eichel. So I hope you guys enjoy. A lot to go on.
He's a man rocket,
and he can get it. Transition. Hey, we're back with our first guest. We have Tim Peel. Why did I say Pool? That was weird. I'm so sorry, Tim. He's with Daily Faceoff. You were an NHL referee forever. Tim, how are you doing tonight? And NHL, I guess.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on tonight.
I have a great first question for you, which all Ranger fans want to know. The first penalty you ever called was against Mark Messier. Why do you hate the Rangers?
No, actually, I don't. And he wasn't with the Rangers then. He was with Vancouver.
Damn.
It was what year did he go? Well, let me think here. What year did he go to Vancouver?
2004.
Did he go to Vancouver? Yeah. So the first penalty I called. No, the first penalty I called in the NHL wasn't against Mark Messier. Someone said that the other day. It was the first penalty. I think what they meant to say was the first penalty against Mark Messier. What was that like? And I said it was very intimidating because Mess had this presence about him that he just, as we all know, he's just a tremendous player and a leader, and he would look at you and give you that look. But no, the first penalty I ever called wasn't against him, but I did call a few against him. But he really, he didn't really bother the refs. He just played his own game. He was too focused on leading and playing hard and winning. So, but I did love working in New York. It was one of my favorite buildings. It was probably my favorite building to work in. And before my incident went down, you're allowed to pick the last 3 or 4 cities of that you want to work in, favorite buildings, and I had 4, and they were going to be, my 4th game was going to be in Montreal, but because of COVID that wasn't going to happen, and then my 3rd game was going to be in Philadelphia. I loved working there, and then obviously my last game was going to be here in my adopted hometown of St. Louis, but my second game, my last game, was going to be in New York. I loved working there, so it was just a phenomenal building to work and be a part of.
Tim, I'm going to want to come back to you actually loving working in Philadelphia, because that's just a ridiculous statement to hear an official say. But before I ask anything about that, I understand the question I'm about to ask, that the answer is no. But was there ever a guy during your long career officiating where you were, I don't want to say afraid, but at least a little worried that maybe this player would throw a punch if you called something incorrectly against him?
No, I can't ever say that I felt, that somebody might hit me if I did call something against them that they didn't like. There were obviously many opportunities, or many times where, I remember I waved off a goal in Montreal one night. Carolina was playing there, and the call went against Carolina in Montreal's favor, and Rod Brindamore, who is, doing obviously a fantastic job in Carolina and was a great player. And he snapped, and I thought for a second he could break his stick over my head at any moment here, but just because
right.
of the seriousness of the game, and he disagreed with me so much. And But no, you know what, the players, they especially back years ago, it's not that the young players now, it's not that they don't respect the refs. I truly believe that most of them don't even care about having a relationship with the refs, because they're so focused on their own game. Even when I refed Connor McDavid, I would have to strike up a conversation with him. He wouldn't come over and really ask questions about certain calls and so on, because he's just focused on his game. And it was different years ago when we would build relationships with players, but right now that's kind of going by the wayside. And I think it's just a result of our society and how things have just changed that way.
Would you say there was a particular Ranger that was sort of hard to referee, and was it Sean Avery?
See, it's funny. I liked Sean. A lot of people didn't. I refereed him in the OHL when he played for Owens. I think it was Owen Sound that he played for. And I had Sean, from when he was a junior hockey player up through the NHL. And he came over to me one night at Madison Square Garden, and he kind of was looking, I guess, for my approval. And he's like, "Hey, Pilsy, how am I playing tonight?" I go, "Aves, you're playing fantastic. Like, you're doing awesome." And he's like, "We should go out after and have a few beers." And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? My luck, I'll get on page 6 with Cindy Adams, sitting there having drinks with Sean Avery, and probably not a good look considering I've been in trouble with the league before. So, but I liked Sean, and he's the type of guy a lot of teams wanted him to be on their team, and players hated playing against him.
So, Tim, to circle back a little bit about Philadelphia being one of your places to referee, when you're on the ice and we're sitting at home, we're sitting in the arena, it's impossible to hear if the home crowd turns against the officials. You hear the ref, you suck chants, you hear all that. When you're on the ice, are you able to employ the mechanism essentially and drown it all out, or is it playing as the playlist to the game that you're refereeing?
That's a great question. No, I relished it. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It created emotion in the game. Philadelphia, the reason I liked, New York, Philadelphia, Montreal, is because they were knowledgeable hockey fans. They knew what was going on. And if I messed up a call in Philadelphia or New York, the fans would get on us. But, for example, when I worked in Atlanta, they would just yell for the sake of yelling because they didn't really know what was going on. So I loved working in cities where, obviously the Canadian cities are knowledgeable, but the American cities where they really knew the game, and they really, it was passion for them, passionate. And so Philly, there was a guy, he's still there. They call him the sign guy. And he's got 20, 30 signs. He sits behind the goaltender, the visiting goaltender. And, he holds up a sign or insert puck here, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd come out in the ice and he'd go, Peel, you suck, and so on. And so one night I was known to go out and have a few drinks after the game, and he showed up at Chicky and Pete's, and he introduced himself, and we just hit it off, and, drank until we closed the place. And that was about 12 years ago. And then every time I'd come back to Philly, welcome back, good to see you. He'd hold up the sign. I'd give him a little fist pump as we were doing the first or second lap around the rink. And I just loved working there because they loved their Flyers. Like, you guys love the Rangers. And I love cities like that. It just it's what makes our sport, to me, the best sport in the world.
Well, I'm going to go a little bit opposite here. So obviously you had a great experience there. Was there ever a game you called where you felt like you had to sneak out of an arena, like through secret tunnels?
I'm sure there was a few of those. I know that I missed a goal on the King in Madison Square Garden, and it resulted in the game-winning goal. And it's back before we had goalie interference, and I forget what year it was. And a lot of people think we would just leave the game and go back to the hotel and have beers with our, fellow officials. But it bugged me for, 2-3 days. I had that pit in my stomach because I knew, I might have and probably did cost a certain team the game. And then, so when they brought in video review, a lot of people, agree with it. A lot of people don't. it's a good thing, because now when our officials go on the headset and they come back and they go, we've got no goal because of X, Y, and Z, the first thing the announcers say is, you know what, that's great, they got the call right. But if we didn't have video review, that's all they would be talking about the rest of the game. But I had great memories in New York. I know it was the last Game 7 between the Rangers and the Flyers. It was April 30th, 2014. And Chris Rooney and I were refereeing the game. I think the Rangers won 1-0. We called one penalty in the entire game. It was to Zach Rinaldo from the Flyers. He interfered with somebody in the first period. And it was, an hour and a half. I'll never forget this, because I grew up in a small town in Canada. I grew up in a trailer park, and, I came from nothing. And I'm sitting there in Madison Square Garden in the dressing room an hour and a half before the game, and the building is rocking, going, let's go Rangers, let's go, and we come out of that tunnel and it's dark and the fans are already going crazy. And I'm like, man, I'm humbled and honored. Like, I'm a kid that grew up in a trailer park, and now I'm refereeing in one of the biggest venues in the world, and Flyers Rangers Game 7. It just doesn't get any better than that. So it was a lot of fun. That was one of my most favorite games ever in the National Hockey League.
Tim, I want to put a pin in video review, because I have a video review related question for you later, but we're talking playoffs, and we're talking
have to do this.
Experience in the playoffs. So we are required by podcasting law to ask you the question of, do referees plan differently for playoff games? How different is the mindset? Because obviously us fans sitting at home, we yell, we bitch, we moan all the time, saying, the game 68 is not the same as game 5 in the second round. So as a referee, put us in your shoes. What is the mindset different? Is this just happenstance? Is this just coincidence? How do you plan for a playoff game compared to the Ranger game tonight against the Panthers?
Okay, no, that's a very good question. It's a very valid question. And what happens is, in the regular season, players are lazy. Some games they've played 3 games in 3 nights. They're tired. They stop skating. They reach their stick out. They take undisciplined penalties. Because I can guarantee you, if I'm Barry Trotz and I'm preparing for Tampa in the finals, or the Eastern Conference Finals, I can guarantee you Barry Trotz is telling his team, you cannot take penalties against Tampa. Their power play is too lethal. It's running at 20-30%. We cannot take penalties. So I know people want to say, no, we don't call as much, but the players are the ones that deserve the credit. They're more disciplined in the playoffs. They don't take lazy penalties. And I will say this, we have 34 referees. The top 20 go to the playoffs. And it's not a knock on the other 14 guys, but they didn't get the playoffs for a certain reason. They're not considered by the league to be the top officials in the league. It's just as simple as that. And it's the same thing with a hockey team. You got your first line, your second line, your third line, and fourth line. It's the same thing with refereeing. We can't have 34 Wes McCaulays or Kelly Sutherlands. It's just not realistic. Not everybody can be at the top of their game like those 2 guys that I just talked about. And then the other thing is, in the playoffs, you do not want to call a 1-minute penalty. You don't want to call a 1-minute penalty in the regular season, but you don't want to call a 1-minute penalty in the playoffs that results in a power play goal, and you watch the replay after and you go, geez, that really wasn't much. So come playoffs, A, you've got the players are more disciplined. B, you've got the top refs working, and C, they make sure that they go out there and call good NHL quality penalties, which they should through 82 games. But you're also talking 1,200 games throughout a season, and there's going to be mistakes made over 1,200 games. We're talking about a smaller number of games when we get down to the playoffs.
But Tim, was there ever a moment where I totally get and understand I don't want my whistle to be the thing that determines the outcome of this game, especially in the playoffs. But did you ever have a moment where after the game you were more reflective and thought to yourself, maybe I put it in my pocket a little too much. Maybe I should have been a little more assertive in that game. Maybe had I called this game a little bit more aggressively, the game itself would have followed a more natural hockey timeline.
No, I never felt like that. The only time that I ever reflected after a playoff game was if I knew that I had made a weak call and it probably had a deciding factor in the game. Because if I wasn't noticed out there, the players didn't notice me, they weren't complaining, I called the standard that I was instructed to call, then I never thought after the game, geez, I should have called more penalties because maybe a certain team would have won because of power plays. I would never. That's not how I would think. I was more reflective of, if it was a bad call or two calls that I made that determined the outcome, it had a direct outcome on the game, then that's when I would be upset and it would really bother me then.
We did put a pin in the replay conversation, but do you think there should be more replay available to NHL refs or even teams for video review, or is that just really up to the discretion?
I think we're good now. We had the play in St. Louis a few years ago where Timo Meier gloved the pass in the second round. He gloved the pass to a fellow Shark. They put the puck in the net in overtime, and it wasn't reviewable, and you had the players able to see it on the iPad. You had all the fans in the building looking at the replay. You had everybody from the United States to China that saw it on TV, but the only four guys that weren't able to look at it were the four guys on the ice. And quickly they changed that at the beginning of next season. In St. Louis, that is actually, ironically, the year they came back and won that series and then went on to win the Stanley Cup. So, we have video review for headshots. People think it's really easy to call headshots, and it's one of the most difficult penalties because it's easy when we watch it on replay. Every call is easy when we watch it on replay. But at full speed, when somebody's checking somebody, did he get him in the shoulder first? Did he get him in the head? It's really difficult. You've got to have a great sight line on it. You can't guess. And we're in a position that we can review that. And if we overreact, which we shouldn't, but if there's going to be times that we do, that we can take that penalty off the board. And it's the same thing with the double minor. I used to hate it. It didn't happen to me much, but it happened a couple times where, the Ranger guy would I thought high stick the Flyer guy, but it turned out it was his own teammate's stick from the Flyers, and we weren't able to review it. And all of a sudden now the Rangers are short for 4 minutes.
Right.
And it's the worst. It's the longest 4 minutes of your life because the whole time you're thinking, please kill it off, because at the time, Alain Vigneault or Quinn are saying it was his own stick. And as soon as they say that, you're like, geez, you're so mad at yourself because NHL officials, I took a lot of pride in how I worked out there. Did I make mistakes? Yeah. But I was fortunate enough through player polls and so on, they would always rank me very high. And it was because I took pride in how I worked and that I wanted to, make the product better, but I wanted to make the game fair and safe. And I'll tell you a quick story and not to keep you too long tonight, but when my incident went down and I flew home, it's easy for your friends to reach out to you and call you and so on. But David Clarkson, who played in the NHL, he played for 4 teams. He hated referees, hated them. Him and I battled his entire career. And so I'm driving home the next morning from the airport and my phone rings and it's David Clarkson. And as soon as he said his name, I for a split second, I go, holy shit, he's gonna say that good. It looks good on you, never liked you, etc. And he goes, I just want to let you know, I just got off the ice here in Denver. I'm retired here, and I was playing with some ex-players, and we're talking about your incident and what happened, and we think it's a travesty what went down. And he said, I just want you to know, I was difficult to officiate, but he says when we were in the dressing room and we knew who the ref was, I knew I had one of the best refs in the league, but I knew I had one of the fairest refs in the league. And he said, I just wanted you to know that. So it was those type of phone calls that made me feel better, because that's all I ever wanted to do. I wasn't Andy Van Hellemond. I wasn't Kerry Fraser or Bill McCreary, but I wanted to be a hard-working guy. I worked the playoffs almost every year in the league that I was in the league. Somebody that the league could rely on and say, we know what we're going to get. He works hard. He calls a fair game. And at the end of the day, that's all you want to be known for.
That's fantastic. And I just wanted to say that's fantastic, because the next question I ask is going to be one that most people who watch hockey have a hard time with. And while we're talking video review, I got to ask you, Tim, goalie interference. What the fuck is it? How do we determine it?
I think it's pretty simple. If the attacking player has taken position in the crease and the goalie is unable to properly play his position, I'm kind of reciting the rule book, but I know the rule pretty good. Is that if the goalie is unable to properly play his position, he doesn't have the forward does, or whether it's a defenseman or a forward, but a player from the other team does not have to necessarily be making contact with the goalie. But if that attacking player has both skates inside the blue, the goalie has to back up towards his blue line in order to avoid contact with that player, then the referee or hockey ops in the war room have every right to call off that goal. The rule is, if a player is in the blue and the goalie is unable to properly play his position. So it's a tough rule. There's a lot of judgment every time you make that call, whether it's the officials on the ice or the war room in Toronto. You're going to have 50% of the people that agree with it and 50% of the people that disagree with it. And that's the thing about our sport, and it makes it fun and interesting. But there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of judgment. Did the goalie if he was knocked down, did he have ample time to get up and properly play his position? Things like that. So I don't know if that answers it, but
how about this? Do you think goalie interference is one of those penalties that should be reviewable? Because to your point, while the rule itself can be written in black and white, it's cut and dry, blah, 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 it is open a little bit to interpretation. And if you get video replay involved, you're slowing things down. Your eyes are now seeing things that it didn't see at live speed.
But we can review it now. Like if Tim Peel waved off a goal in New York tonight against the Rangers, and Gerard Gallant, who you guys are fortunate to have him as a coach. He's a dear friend of mine, besides being a great coach. And I texted him and called him the last few months, and he's going to do a tremendous job for you guys. I love Gerard. He's an awesome human being. His players love playing for him. But Gerard has the option, after looking at the replay, to say, we're going to challenge the play. And then we go to Toronto. I look at it along with the hockey ops people in Toronto, and we look at it and say, you know what, Tim? Gerard's right. The goalie didn't get interfered with. Boom, we take away. We put the goal back on the board and it counts, so they can review it now.
I'm gonna go. Oh, you want to continue, Greg, and then I'll ask my question.
Well, I was just. I guess my question was more along the lines of, do you think it should be reviewable, or do you think that's one that you or any official should get the control on the ice?
No, I think we should be able to review it, and I'll tell you why. Before video review came in, everybody was of the mindset, we love the human element. We love, there's mistakes made throughout a season, but there's that human element and so on. But the problem is now, and not that it wasn't important 10, 15, 20 years ago, but we're a multi-billion-dollar industry right now, National Hockey League. And whether a team makes the playoffs, for example, here in St. Louis, if they miss out in the playoffs because they lose a game and they miss out on 2 points, this isn't corporate America here in the Midwest in St. Louis. We don't have the sponsorship that Montreal and New York and some of these other Chicago high-profile cities have. So for Tom Stillman and the ownership group here in St. Louis, making the playoffs is a big deal. And if they miss the playoffs because the referee on the ice wasn't able to review a goalie interference call, that would be really unfortunate. So I think at the end of the day, it is a sport, but it's also a business now, and we're talking about millions and billions of dollars that can be determined by a certain call.
Final question from me, Tim. It's a two-parter. So you've joined Daily Faceoff. Tell us a little bit of what you're doing there. And I saw that you scored a goal with your feet. Do you still have that puck?
I didn't score it with my feet. That's the one. That's actually in December of 19 before 18 before the Blues, they won the cup that year. And I always because they were having a shitty November, December. Well, they were last in the league in January, right? And Bortuzzo, I was working the game here in St. Louis, and Luongo was playing here for Florida. And Bortuzzo shot it in, and instead of rimming it around the boards or shooting at the net, he kind of shot it straight towards the end boards towards me. And so it wasn't going that high, but I couldn't jump up and because it was waist high and couldn't really duck. So it hits me in the left hip, and everybody else thought it hit me somewhere else in that area. And I was in the left corner, and it mysteriously somehow went all the ways across the goal line and beat Luongo on the short side. So I'm a little shaken up. I hit my head in the boards. I come back out, lose. Like, Luongo's one of the best guys ever. And he's like, Pilsy, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, Lou. I go, I'm good. But I said, you know what? I said, for the rest of my career, I'm going to be able to say I scored on Roberto Luongo. So after the game, they brought me in the puck. I'm looking at it right now. I've got it in my office here at the house. And
that's
so
hilarious.
The funny part was 2 or 3 nights later, I'm working in Chicago, and Florida's there. And Florida started Reimer that game. And Lou comes right up to me. We're skating around for warm-up, and Lou comes right up. He goes, Pills, he goes, they won't even start me now when you're roughing our games because they're afraid you're going to score on me. And we laughed, and yeah, a lot of funny stories. But I joke with Bortuzzo, because I live here in St. Louis. I'm like, I said, that changed your season. I said, it changed things around for you. So the funny thing was, so that happens in my, I'm from Canada, but happens at my adopted hometown in St. Louis, and been here 20 years. And I get home and I'm having a glass of wine, and my wife's like, you're unbelievable. Like, you're one of the only refs to ever score. You scored in St. Louis for the home team. So my phone is literally blowing up. Like, I can't keep track with it. And Gretzky sends me a text.
That's
and he
amazing.
Goes, he goes, you're only 741 goals shy of Hully now, he says. And I laugh, and Gretz and I still laugh about that. So,
well, I want to give you a chance because we got to get out of here in a second. But what are you doing for Daily Faceoff now, and what's going on at the site over there?
Yeah, so Daily Faceoff, they brought me on as a rules analyst. I go on one or 2 days a week and talk about suspensions, hits, non-calls that have happened throughout the week that certain players might be getting frustrated with not calling, and we have a lot of fun at that. And then Andy Strickland and I and Jamal Mayers, the ex-player, we're on the air here in St. Louis from 2 to 3 on Wednesdays on the Fan 590, and we're having a lot of fun with that. I refereed Jamal his entire career, and you probably heard the name Andy Strickland, and we're having a lot of fun in St. Louis doing that as well.
I can't thank you.
Tim, last question for me. Who settle it once and for all? Who wins mano a mano, you or Gene Steratore, in best rules analyst that is currently going in their sport?
Gene's pretty good. I like Gene a lot. I think he's doing a great job. And so I'm going to give the edge to Gene now. But he's been retired for a few years. He's been able to perfect his craft for the last few years. So give me some time, but it's only been a few months. But I'd love to do something like that as well. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I think the fans, TNT hired Don Koharski, which was a no-brainer. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He worked 11 Stanley Cup finals. And then ESPN's got Dave Jackson, an ex-referee. So hopefully they utilize them in the right way, because I really believe that the fans want to hear from an official and hear a different perspective on the game, because really up until this year they haven't been able to do that. And I had to stay quiet until September 1 because of my contract and so on. And since I've been a little more vocal lately and been on Twitter and commenting about calls and different things, they don't agree with me. But they've really, I think, liked the fact that, hey, there's somebody out there that can give us an opinion that actually knows a little bit about what he's talking about. And so it's fun. I enjoy it. And I appreciate you guys having me on here. And anytime you want to have me on again, I'd love to come on. I love the Rangers and the city, and I'm rooting for Gerard Gallant this year. He's a great man, and so's Chris Drury.
I have many more questions about Gallant at a future time, but I appreciate your time so much, Tim, and have a wonderful night.
Boys.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, we're back with our second guest. We have Ken Boehlke of Simbin Vegas. This has been a long time in the making. Somehow the Vegas Golden Knights and the Rangers have like a shitload of overlap. Ken, how are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for coming on. We have put up a billboard in Buffalo. We begged and cried for the Rangers to get Jack Eichel all summer. More me, to be honest, than Greg. And yet, here you are acquiring Jack Eichel for a package I think was still light. What was that like for you, acquiring yet another star player?
You're going to hate me. You're going to hate me right off the top. I don't think I didn't even think they should have done it. I don't think it was a good idea. I think it makes the team further away from winning the Stanley Cup, and I don't think it's a good idea that they made the move.
This is great discourse. I love to start this way because
I blacked out for a second. I want to make sure you realize we're talking about Eichel and not Brett Howden.
No, that deal I was actually somehow okay with because you guys ended up getting the worst player off our roster somehow and all of that. So that was fine with me. This one, and it's not really about Eichel. It's not even about the package. It's just there's a salary cap. Like, I'm not 100% sure the Golden Knights are aware of that. They've basically been ignoring it for years. There actually is a salary cap. And if they want to use all the players that they have currently, they can't. So because this crazy rule that's called the salary cap, I don't know. We'll see.
Ken,
I think it's bad.
Counterpoint to your point, because it's a fair point what you're bringing up. But Tampa Bay? Question mark?
Tampa Bay, yes, I hear you. However, Tampa Bay did this with a player that's been there forever, and they were winning without said player. And they had just won the previous Stanley Cup with Steven Stamkos playing like 5 minutes and scoring a goal.
Literally like
5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, but like I don't think it's the same. Like if Jack Eichel's going to be out the entire season and then suddenly step in with a brand new team in a brand new system and play his very first game, like, and with a brand new neck, right? Like, is that's you're getting peak Jack Eichel to win this Stanley Cup? Like, I just don't think it's realistic. Maybe next year, but then the salary cap exists.
See, the Rangers also realized the salary cap exists, and in turn, they just traded Pavel Buchnevich, kept $8.5 million open, signed Barclay Goodrow for 6 years, and then we're like, we're not doing anything else. So, very cool.
Where are they at currently?
I believe I think we're, what are we, $7 million, $8 million under the cap? Something like that?
See, that's fantastic.
Oh, we don't do anything with it, because next year...
hang on.
Next year, we have to pay Kakko, and we have to pay 0-point Kakko, by the way.
Too, but see, this is where this is what we've been screaming at the Golden Knights to do, and this is why I still want to throw my shoe at Evgeny Dodonov. Cap space gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the season goes on. So once you get to the deadline, you're going to have like $15 million worth of cap space, and then you can buy off players. You'll be able to buy 2, 3, 4 players at $5 or $6 million worth, and do it in a spot where you know they can help you, where if you do it in the offseason, you don't necessarily know what can help you. I actually like that move better. Now, they have to actually spend the money. If you sit there and go into the playoffs $7 million short, okay, then that's useless.
Well, the Rangers were in on Eichel the whole time, despite what many other reporters said. It was finally reported afterwards that the Blues refused to send him to New York. Surprise, not really a big thing.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it. Go Bills, I guess. And in this situation where, well, I mean the Jags. Come on, that's embarrassing. But in this situation, so you're kind of like Toronto light now. What is the expectations for Vegas moving forward? A team that's gone deep in the playoffs many years in a row, started off with a bang, have continued to do it, fired their coach, who's now our coach. Where are you at in Vegas?
Do you want my expectations, or do you want the Golden Knights'
I want your opinions. That's why you're here.
I think they're about to win, or they're about to lose in a different way. In the past couple of seasons, and really, I mean, the first season was, wacky, get to the Cup final. The second season, they get cheated because, sorry, Tim Peel, who was on before me.
He was.
Refs suck. They're all terrible. All of them have no idea what they're doing, and none of them actually know the rules. They're all terrible. Every ref is horrible in every single sport. Sorry, Tim Peel. Tim Peel actually seems like a cool dude. I listened to some of that interview.
Cool as fuck, which was annoying.
He's fantastic. Nonetheless, referees all suck. Sorry. So that's what happened in the second year. Then the last 2 years, they actually lost based on inability to score. They ran into teams that decided, these guys can't shoot it into the water, from a boat. So let's just let them shoot it off the walls all day. And that's what happened. Well, now they're going to do it a different way. Now they're going to lose because they don't have any depth. Now they're going to have a situation where they're going to have some guys towards the top of the, roster be able to score. And then they'll inevitably go what we call cold, but really it just means the other team's focused on stopping those guys and forcing the other guys to beat them. And you'll end up seeing them, get smoked by third and fourth lines and probably even second lines at different times by turning the puck over in their own zone and having some of the issues that they've had currently. I think, to me, building the team like Toronto, building the team like Edmonton should, in theory, set you up to fail like Toronto and Edmonton.
So, Ken, there's no need to continue to go over the Eichel package. So let's talk about the next step of the Eichel package, which anyone who watches hockey, anyone who follows, you don't even need to follow the Vegas Golden Knights to know that it seems like the inevitable shoe that's going to drop is Riley Smith.
Yeah.
What do you expect that to be the case? Am I missing something that's a little bit more obvious? And more importantly, are you going to be okay if Riley Smith is moved out to make room for the injured Three Musketeers?
So you're right that is the inevitable piece. There's only one way that something becomes more inevitable than that, and that's if they can potentially get rid of Evgeny Dadonov, who they got for no reason, and I'm still trying to figure out why, and they paid a price for him, and I don't know why, and he has term, and he's way overpaid, and he stunk in Ottawa, and now he stinks here. If they can find someone to take him off their hands, he would actually be a better option. But I don't think that's going to happen, seeing as they were unable to give away the reigning Vezina winner for absolutely nothing. Well, they got Mikkel Häkkinen.
That still seems weird. Just going to say.
Superstar. No, it's not weird. Like, what's weird about it is that the Golden Knights do not understand the salary cap exists. Like, if the salary cap didn't exist, they would have gotten a first-round pick for Marc-Andre Fleury. But it does exist. So, therefore, everyone knows you're in this cap crunch. You have to give this player away. And there you have no option. The same thing's going to happen here. I think Riley Smith's going to go for – they'll be lucky to get a 6th or 7th round pick for an expiring contract
the Rangers
player
are
who's
very linked
good.
To him.
Yeah,
Extremely.
and they should be. And Gallant loves him. And you will love him too. He's an awesome player. He's very consistent. He does everything you can possibly ask for. And he's one of the few guys that when you come playoff time will do the same thing he does in the regular season. He doesn't disappear. The other one's McNabb, another expiring contract. Eventually he would probably go, but he doesn't make all that much money. Between the two of them, that's still not enough for Jack Eichel. Like, they still have to do more. So it's going to be tough. I think they're going to try to play the injury game, not with Eichel, but with everyone else. They'll just try and find $9 million worth of injured players between March and the end of April. That's what I think they're going to try and do. But if they have a situation where maybe nobody plays hockey for a month in the month of February and everyone's healthy, then they're going to have to go down the path of trading off players for absolutely nothing. And some other teams are going to get better steals than the Golden Knights got on Eichel.
So you covered Gallant for a long time. Before we recorded, you talked about how you kind of had a mini relationship with him. We went everywhere. We went everywhere, Ken, to try and find people to talk shit about Gallant before he became to the Rangers. Everyone seems to like the guy, like a serious amount. The players seem to love him. We haven't fallen in love yet, but I'm assuming we're going to, because so far it's been a little bit of a lukewarm reception from Ranger fans. Everyone loves the guy. Explain to me what it was like covering him. Give me some rundown here.
Oh, he's the best. I mean, he's one of the most genuine people you can ever meet. I'll give you a good example of kind of who Gerard Gallant is. So for a while there, before the Golden Knights hired their coach, they were kind of linked to a number of different people. Alain Vigneault was one. There was a lot of noise about potentially John Cooper getting fired because they were about to miss the playoffs, and then, they did, and that was kind of a mess. They ended up not firing John Cooper. And basically, the moment they decided they were not firing John Cooper, they hired Gerard Gallant, and they had hired him after interviewing him in December. This happened in about mid-April. So all this time, we had kind of been talking about, well, this is a little weird. Why interview this guy and then hire him later? Like, he's clearly not your first choice. Did they pick their second choice? Is this the guy they want? And we're writing all this and talking about all this and whatever. So I get to the press conference where they introduce Gallant, and I go up to the press conference afterwards and I go and shake his hand. I'm like, hey, I'm Ken from Sinbin. And he says to me, and I swear to you, this is a direct quote from him. He goes, hey, you're the fuckers who think I wasn't going to get the job.
What?
And I go, yeah, that is me. Nice to meet you.
Wow.
He goes, well, I don't read any of it. My wife doesn't. I go, sure, you liar. And he looks at me and just starts laughing and shakes my hand. And we were talking about other stuff. Like, he's as genuine as can possibly be. And throughout the course of the time covering him, like, he would pull me aside from time to time and yap at me about things I would write or things I would say, but give his side of it. He understood how to play the game with the media in regards to, like, how to deal with questions that he didn't like, how to make sure he was kind of molding the questions he did want. He's very good at that. And I think you can tell based on the way that the players react to him that he's very, very honest in regards to, like, he will tell you you're not playing well enough or you need to do more of this or whatever. And the players respect that. And in both cases, and I'm still trying to figure out why this happened, but both Florida and Vegas, he ends up going out unceremoniously. So I don't know what's going to happen in New York.
That's why we tried to find people to say bad things about him, Ken. It was like, we couldn't understand.
Well, I don't have anything bad to say about Gerard Gallant yet. I mean, it's only been this is game 12. I'm sure I'll find some. I found worse things to say about nicer people, but I do have to I have to scratch a scab a little bit with one thing you said there, Ken, where you called Gerard Gallant brutally honest, and I'm sure he's brutally honest to the players, but help me square the circle about how Gerard Gallant has essentially said two things since he's been Rangers head coach. One, I'm going to have a captain, and two, young, talented players don't play on my fourth line. So explain to me why the Rangers don't have a captain, and explain to me why Alex Lafreniere played on the fourth line.
Because you can't like that portion of it to what he says to the media and the fans and all that. He just says whatever fits in that particular moment. And then if that changes, he just doesn't care that he had lied about it previously. And he'll just flat out say, like, I don't really care what I said before. This is what it is today. And again, like, I think, there's a part of that where you're like, okay, well, I don't like that lying part of that. We have worse, lying that goes on in this organization, that he was actually the most honest of those. And he did that stuff all the time here. But I think I understand where you're coming from there. And you're going to see some problems. There are some issues with how he goes about rolling out lines, how he goes about falling in love with certain players. And there are adjustment issues or over adjustment issues at different times. But as a whole, I think the key to me is, like, all systems in the NHL are fairly similar. I don't think anybody's running anything crazy. There's no Bill Belichick's in this league. So because of that, you really need a guy and a coach that the players really want to play for. And this guy has always been that. And I think will always be that. He's a player's coach, and he will probably forever be a player's coach.
No, I will also say, Ken, I don't mean for it to sound like I'm angry that Gerard Gallant is lying to me. I think it's fucking hilarious, because I'd much rather have a guy just lie to my face as opposed to just telling me about how he needs to get pucks deep and needs to stop playing East-West hockey.
Oh, he'll
blah,
do that
blah, blah.
too.
Yeah, but the straight up ability to lie to not just any media but the New York media, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
that deserves like an Emmy of some kind.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. It's great.
He definitely pretends to hear questions and then purposely misinterprets them.
For sure. Yeah. He a lot of times he'll ask the question again so that he can come up with time to how can I misinterpret this?
Okay, well, now we know that. Now we have that down. When are we gonna not like Ryan Reeves, because we've enjoyed the experience so far?
When are you gonna need to win a game?
Interesting. So the fans have really turned on him, I guess, is what you were saying when you were covering him. Brett Houghton's our version.
Oh no, no. The fans loved him the whole time.
But
No, because he's terrible at hockey. But
we knew that, though.
The reason fans love him is because he does things that fans love. I personally don't understand why fans love these things. Like, I like hockey because it's crazy fast and they have unbelievable skill and they do crazy shit with their hands, and it's amazing. I don't need to see two guys on skates punching each other with helmets on. Like, if I want that, the UFC actually is the home in the same building as the Golden Knights play in. Like, I can see really cool fights, and I used to cover the UFC. Like, the fighting in hockey is complete dog shit. So to me, like, he does no good. And then there's this belief that, like, no one will take a run at your players if you have, the Golden Knights are 12 games in and no one's taken a run at anyone, yet last year that was nonstop when they had him. I think he actually stirs up more controversy and more shit than without him. And then again, he's not good at literally any piece of hockey. Forechecking, backchecking, hockey IQ, shooting, defending, stick handling, skating, whatever you want. He's not good at it.
I hear all that, but my counterpoint is he makes me laugh. And
I'll give you that.
like that, like any good relationship, sometimes it's just about how you feel, and he makes me feel good.
I like winning.
We do too, but
What
we're
a
not going to
concept.
do that.
That's just my favorite thing. Like, my favorite thing in all sports is when my team has more points / goals / runs than the other team.
You've enjoyed being a Vegas fan then.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good until they get to the part where they can't score, which is fun. But, or they get fucked by the ref. Now this guy, he does the opposite. He was better in first year. He scored a game-winning goal in the conference final.
I mean,
Well, let's have a couple things clear here. It's not exactly like you guys upgraded from what you got from the New York Rangers. And you like winning. So I need to teach you how to win Brett Howden discussions, because we perfected it.
Let us
on
help
this
you out,
podcast.
Greg. Go ahead.
There's a stone cold rule. It sounds like you're already tired talking about Brett Howden. He takes up too much of your waking conscious. You don't want to do it anymore. So here's the rule. You want to say something bad about Brett Howden? Don't. Repeat this phrase. He's a man rocket. He can get it.
But first, you have
That's
to
it.
say legally speaking. And
Legally
I'm legally obligated to tell you this. He's
Legally
a man rocket,
obligated to say
and he can get it. That's
that
it.
Brett Howden is a man rocket. He can get it. 'Cause
That's
that
all
is one
he-
good-looking dude. He's going to fucking clean up on the strip, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he's bad at hockey.
That's it.
So instead of trying to talk about his hockey, talk about the thing he's good at. Looking
He's
good.
a man rocket, and he can get it.
He looks great
man
in a
rocket,
90s
he can
boy
get it.
band. He looks awesome there. He really does.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
taller
like-
than I thought he was too.
See,
When's
that's
the
another way to
last
say it.
time? When's the last time you sat down and really thought to yourself, what happened to Drew Lachey, Nick's brother from 98 Degrees? You don't. He plays hockey for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a man rocket. He can get it.
There
See
you
what
go.
I'm saying?
I hear you. I mean, this is not a bad idea. I think I need to. But I don't think we hate him as much as you guys hated him in New York yet.
We hate him
Well,
because
yeah,
he just...
Yet's doing a lot of work there for you, buddy. Just keep waiting.
It is.
You'll get
It
there.
is.
First line. I mean, he scored a sick goal the other night, which he never did for us. So congratulations. So
He scored?
yeah, he scored, I believe. Didn't he? Didn't he?
I don't think
He
He
did.
scored.
He did. It wasn't a fever dream. I saw it with
He
my
had,
own
he had
eyes.
the tap in. I saw the gif. And I
Oh
threw it
yeah,
up.
on the back door. That's right.
Yeah.
And he almost completely flubbed it, and I thought it might have gone off his knee.
I was
That's
like, man,
right.
wish Kakko could do that.
Oh no. That doesn't count. That was against Ottawa.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
I only count goals against teams.
Well, to be fair, Ken, I'm still not sure he ever scored a goal with a goalie in net as a New York Ranger.
Yeah.
No, the goalie was way out to the side.
But at least in your instance, the goalie was at least on the ice.
Yeah.
In our instance,
Yeah,
I'm
he was
saying
there.
he wasn't on the ice.
Yeah, he was on the ice. He was not where he was supposed to be at that moment. And that was a very good pass by Shea. I remember the play now. He has 4 shots in 10 games. He is
Yeah.
a man rocket, and he can. get
Oh,
it.
man.
Yeah,
Ken
but
is getting it.
he's going to end the season with more numbers than shots, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey, there you go.
Because he's a man rocket, he can get it.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So now that we've gone through that, Riley Smith, when do you expect him to actually be moved? I think that's actually my final question, too.
Well, I don't think it'll happen before February because obviously Eichel's not coming off long-term IR until the back end of the Olympic break. So they're not going to do anything in that regard unless they're sure that they're going to be fully healthy, which would be awfully difficult to do before February with all the games and what's going on. I would imagine it could potentially happen during that off month because they're going to have some time. And I think their plan is like, let's not get completely backed into a corner here. And the deadline will lead into being completely backed into a corner. So that would be my best guess, would be somewhere between February and like early March. But I don't think they want to get all the way to the deadline, which is second week of March.
Yep, something like that. Greg,
I'll end on this note because we've been talking for about 30 minutes, and it kind of feels like sacrilege that we haven't brought up the name Mark Stone yet. Have you ever encountered a player who the casual hockey fan still doesn't quite understand just how good and how many good things this guy does on a nightly basis? I don't have a comparison for another sport where a player is, I think, hands down, probably one of the 5 most important players in the league. And yet I would say you're just casual hockey fan would have no idea.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, there's probably some like defensive tackles in the NFL that do it. You know, I think everybody falls in love with the 3-point shooters and the little shortstops and whatnot.
People know Aaron Donald, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking more like Calais Campbell or like Vita Vea. I'm a Buccaneer fan. The impact that dude makes is massive. Like, yeah, obviously he's not Aaron Donald. And I don't think Mark Stone is quite at that level. Like, I don't think anybody's voting it as the best player in the entire league, nor should you. That one's a pretty obvious. And the Golden Knights did not get him despite what their Twitter thinks. But like, yeah, he's a spectacular player. His hands are unbelievable. He, you know, the way he takes pucks away from people, the way he plays the game without even really being able to skate is beyond belief. But he also has disappeared 3 consecutive playoffs in the back end of the biggest series. So they need that to come along. Like, until you do that, you're still going to have that as part of your legacy. And you know, we've seen great players have that.
Name one. Just curious. Name one.
I mean, Alex Ovechkin was one that I could think of before that one series that I want to forget.
Okay, sure. I just thought there was a more obvious answer. Appreciate that.
Is there like, yeah? I'm sure.
I'm talking about Rick Nash. I'm sorry. Anyway, so
I thought you were talking about Brett Howden.
Hold on, Ken. Fuck you, Ryan. That's what I have to do. Piece of shit.
Okay.
I have to deal. You talk to this guy for 30 minutes. You're tired of his shit. Try dealing with him for 320 straight Mondays.
I can't thank you enough so much for coming on and joining us tonight. Have a great time. I would love to stay in touch and find out how things are going with Eichel and all that stuff. And maybe if you need any Ranger help, let us know. We got your back.
Yeah, let me know. I'm looking forward to when you truly fall in love with Gerard Gallant, and then when he gets unceremoniously fired for some ridiculous reason in like 2 years.
The Rangers are really good
news. We got James Dolan, baby. Every reason's
There
ridiculous.
we go. There we go.
Ken, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
He is a man rocket, and he can get it.
Cheers. And as always, our podcast would not be possible without our NHL Insiders Club, where all the secret information gets leaked by me in there. Anywho, we have some new joiners this week and some new names I'll mispronounce, which is going to be awesome. I think next week I'm going to do something weird. I think I'm going to try and make this a little more of a weird segment. I want a reason for people to stick around. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. I thought about singing these. You don't want to hear that. I thought about making like them personal announcements. There's a lot I kind of want to mess around. So let's chit chat in the Insiders chat as we do. I'll leak some stories, some scoop levels, and then we can talk about how I should appreciate you more. That's how this goes. Anyway, Adam Cassidy, Adam Cohen, this is a new one. Tulo? I'll get an email. Okay, Adam Cheech, Alex Gardner, Amber Cohensberger, Austin Beetleman, Ben Waters, Ben Weber, Biggies Malone, Brian Doyle, Broadway, Blue Shirt, Bleeder, Chris Finelli, CJ Stellwagen, Dennis Dazen, David Narron, David Siegel, Dennis Dice, Eric Stagg, Gary, George Obrinsky, Give Gardner a Cup, Harrison Haskell, Jake Berskowitz, Jerry and Marquez, JD, Jimmy Mack, John Hardesty, Chris from Florida, Christoph Berg, Lazik Groskowski, Lou, I've never said your last name. Giordano? I think I got it. Lucas K. Matthew Kind, the giveaway for Henrik Lundqvist tickets. Max Nielsen. Pavel Kojarev, Randy Tesser, the legend. Stephen Lomayer, Stig Blubach, Swine Garth, the Drop BK, Tommy Sinclair, Tommy O'Neill, Tori from Manhattan, Upstate Vin. Welcome, Upstate Vin. Vinny Bracco, Vinny Hay, and Will Spector. Could not do it without you. I just want to say, now that we're here and we're in private and it's just us and I don't have Greg here, maybe I'll do this as like my sign-off of the week. Kakko had the best analytics of tonight's game. Listen, I know he's got 0 points, but the stats say they really liked him. Now, okay, I know what you're saying. The stats hated him his first year. Now, I'd say that's an improvement. Yeah, he's got 0 points. All right, I'm done. I love you guys. I'll be back next week, or I'll be back later this week for BSBOT. We'll talk to you then. Bye.